Okay, in this video, I think this is going to be a really good video. I'm going to be talking about how one of my artists went from selling artworks at 75 bucks each, making zero when she met me, to recently having a $32,000 weekend. Not a month, I'm talking about in a weekend. 3 days, 32,000. That's an average of about 10,000 a day. So we're going to get into it. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jaroid Henry. I'm the creative artist Rise. And to be quite frank, at this point, I only create these videos to give you so much value that you think I'm actually pretty cool. That can help you grow your art sales and do end up working together in the near future. And with that being said, we're going to jump straight into this video. So I didn't tell this artist I was recording this video. So I didn't get their permission. So for the sake of the video, we're gonna call this artist T. Artist T, right? It never fail. We always have to have the burp in the beginning of the video. But so I'm talking about how artist T end up going from basically zero to a $32,000 weekend. Yes, you heard me correctly. Weekend. Now, before we jump to this video, I always know that's always the skepticisms, which is totally fine. You're probably new here, so I will show like this is one of her older posts right here. Catherine just show a post on a screen from her in like 2021. Go to her first post in 2021 talking about a $400 sale. Okay, so this is one of her posts right here, when she made like 400 in print sales, and this is recently were her having a $32,000 weekend, which is absolutely insane. So I think it is pretty cool when I do these. I don't know what to call these. It's kind of me talking about how artists that I work with go from like zero sales, increasing their sales. We'll name this later on, but for the sake of this video, we'll just call this the artist walkthrough. Put in the comments below, let me know what you'd like me to call this. I'm gonna start doing more of these, like talking about how some of the artists I work with went from where they were when they met me to achieving some pretty cool results. And there are a lot of them I want to talk about, and it gives me content to put out because I don't be knowing what to record in these videos. So let's jump straight into it. So what happened is, let's talk about when we first met. So artist T actually started working with me in 2019. That's absolutely insane. It had to be maybe like July 2019. We started working together. We had a one-to-one call. At this point, there was no such thing as Artist Rise, by the way, which is my company. At this time, it was JaroidHenry.com, because it literally was just me. There was no team, no mentors, no assistants, no nothing. It was just me. So at this time, I wasn't running ads or anything. I want to say I sent her a message on Facebook, and I say, I see you create beautiful work. If you're open to it, I would love to hop on a one-to-one call with you and see if I can even help you increase your art sales. I had no testimonies, no artists I was working with at this time, like very few. This was like at the very beginning of the business. But anyway, she was like, you know what? Yep, I'm open to it. Let's do it. We hop on a one-to-one call. On that one-to-one call, artist T goal had to be, I think it was like 1,000 a month. And even at this time, I didn't have like a lot of social proof, but I genuinely still believe 1,000 a month, nobody could survive off that. So I think I was trying to get her to aim for 3,000 or 4,000, but we set at 1,000. Fun fact, at this time, she left that call and did not work with me. She was like, no, I'm not going to work with you. Left the call. After she left the call, her husband told her, hey, we got nothing to lose anyway, might as well just give it a shot. As crazy as this may sound. So at the time, she ended up calling me back. This was like the next day or 2 days later. She was like, you know what? I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm like, cool. Let's do it. So we started working together. But first, before we get into working together, I'm explaining where she was at. So in this particular artist situation, I always have my notes right here. At the time of meeting, she was selling her work from about 75 bucks to about 300 on a high end. She did, I know a lot of you watch my videos and you know a lot of artists I work with, so I'm trying to keep artist T private just for her own sake. But I know if I say too much about her art, you probably know who she is. But actually, if you stay to the end, I'll reveal who she is. At some point in this video, I do this. Randomly, at some point in this video, I reveal who she is. Let's continue. So this particular artist did drawings, and with these drawings, there was $75 to about 300. At the time, she was making a few sales here and there. Like in a typical year, she'll maybe make 2,000 in art sales total, which that's roughly like, I don't know, 180 a month or something. So nothing sustainable by far. And she was mainly selling to just family and friends. And her goal was to go from where she was to 1,000 a month, which that is actually a big jump from where she was. Because you're talking about 1,000 a month, that's 12,000 a year from 2,000 a year, right? But I just knew that just wasn't feasible to live off. So we set the goal once again, I think at like 4,000, 5,000. But she definitely wasn't confident in that goal. So I know she's gonna watch this and be laughing. But anyway, once we set the goal, we began working together. At this time, the way I was working with artists, I was working with artists one-to-one because I wasn't working with that many artists. So she did have me one-to-one for some time. Now, working one-on-one, the biggest things we focused wasn't pricing. In her case, which I always talk about, her case was a little different, but it was exposure. Get enough of the right people actually seeing her work. Keep in mind, we're in 2019, so just stay with me. And then on top of that is really, really, really dialing in her message and who her artwork was going to be for. So it was exposure, dialing in her message, and who would be the right buyer for her work. That was the main things we was focusing on very, very, very heavily. So at this time, the way we was working together is I was working a lot on Facebook. We was using Facebook to sell art. Fun fact, by the way, I know there's a lot of other trainings for artists that talk about like using Facebook groups to sell art. I truly believe I started that in 2019 when nobody was using Facebook groups. I was having artists use Facebook groups to like sell their artwork use like a very specific strategy, and it was working. They was crushing it. We don't do that anymore. It's just not as lucrative. It don't work anymore. But anyway, I keep getting off track. That's why I gotta keep my notes in front of me. Anyway, what happened was using Facebook groups. Well, I was showing her how to get a lot of exposure of people actually seeing her art. Now, people were starting to see her art, but it wasn't necessarily purchasing because we didn't know exactly who the work was for. So she'll make a sale here and there. I want to say she hit the first 1,000 or so pretty quickly. I want to say maybe like the first month, 2 months. So she that quickly like changed a lot, right? But afterwards, the real problem was mindset. And I kind of mentioned this early on. So when it came to mindset, she truly didn't believe certain numbers was achievable as an artist. As far as crossing $1,000 in art sales, just wasn't realistic. And that was a deep belief for her. So there's a lot of artists I know watching this video right now, so I'm going to share exactly how we overcame that belief. So that's one thing. That's not one thing. There's two things I want you to understand. So when you're creating art and you're trying to build your art career, I want you to understand these two things if you're struggling with belief. The biggest way to build confidence over anything, you don't have to go see some therapist or go take some yoga classes or meditate on your goals. If you really, really want to overcome the lack of confidence and truly, truly, truly see yourself achieving certain goals, what you need to do is first you have to understand that in order to believe it, you have to see it. You have to see it. Let me say this again. To believe it, you have to see it. A lot of people say this, but a lot of people don't understand what this means. So what happened for Caitlin, I know one of the most important things was for me to surround her with other successful artists. Now at this time, like I mentioned, I was pretty small, but there was a few artists I was working with that actually were selling. It wasn't many at all. We talk like maybe 4. But I got her in the same community, which was a group with those artists. And when the minute she started to see those artists sell and like find the same strategies, and by the way, none of these artists was making like crazy numbers, but find the same strategies, she started to quickly realize like, holy crap, like if they could do it, I could do it. So we seen that $1,000 goal that's much more attainable. But here's the second thing. Because keep in mind, Caitlin went to 32,000 in a 3-day weekend recently. What happens is, if you really want to scale up, I say in order to set a goal, you have to believe it. To believe it, you have to see it. Like you have to see somebody that was doing it to believe it, right? However, to achieve something and scale past it, you have to first be able to taste it. This is very important. So it's like to believe, if to achieve something, you have to be able to taste it. If you to believe something, you just have to be able to see it. Like if you could see it's being done, you could tell your brain like if they could do it, I could do it. But if you want to do it at a higher level, you have to taste it first. So here's what happened with Caitlyn. With Caitlyn, I just wanted her to taste actual sales. So the main thing for me was to get the ball rolling, get her to go from, once again, 2,000 a year to, let's just say we get 500 in a month. She hit 500 a month. After that, I wanted to see about getting to 1,000 a month. She hit 1,000 a month, and then once she got to 1,000 a month, she was able to taste success. So she instantly went from 1,000 to 5,000 a month. That became the new goal. Now, keep in mind, we're using Facebook, posting Facebook group, she making sales, things going good. We realized that we wouldn't be able to really have substantial growth with this simple process. So instead, what we decided to do, what I decided to do, and I forced it on Caitlyn, because a lot of stuff I was telling her at the time, she did not want it to do. She was one stubborn artist. Oh crap. Okay, I just said her name, so that's at the point where I say her name. At the end of this video, I actually have an interview with this artist from 3 years ago. And the interview is titled like how this artist went from 200 a month to 5,000 a month in 10 months. So keep in mind, like that's actual interview you should probably check out with this artist going from 200 to 5,000. That's 3 years old. It'll be cool. Maybe I'll do an updated interview with her going from 5,000 a month to 32,000 weekends. But let's get back on track. So at this point, we wanted to go after like 5,000 a month. For that to really happen at the time, I knew we had to like switch the perspective, right? Like the way she see things and how we go after certain things. So what we then started focusing on at this point was her story. Like who was the actual buyer for the work? This particular artist, we realized the best buyer for the work were people who were just like her. She was very big into her husband. She loved her husband, but her husband was very big into sports. So then she got very big into sports to like spend more time with her husband. So then she started creating artwork that catered specifically to women who husband loved sports. And she used it as like a bonding time, and she shared that story with her audience, how like her own bonding time with her husband, because he was off from work, became during those football games. And she actually found that to build their relationship 10 times closer. So then she started to share this story with other artists. I'm sorry, not artists. I don't cut these videos, so you're going to just hear me apologize. Anyway, she started sharing these stories. Her story with other like mothers and wives who wasn't spending a lot of time with their husband, but knew their husband loved sports. And then at this point, a lot of women started to come to the forefront like, wow, that speak to me. I love your work. It's so beautiful. I resonate with your story. And then more people started actually purchasing her work. And the crazy part is because there's thousands. There's probably millions of like sports artists at this point. But what really separated her from everyone else, it was less about the sport. It was more about the story behind it. It was the connection she was making with these buyers that was able to relate to her story, that really started to draw them in. And then even at this point, I think she could have built a very successful career just with this, but we decided to like dial it in even more. So she didn't only was creating artwork around that story, we then started to focus on a specific team. So it was one sport, one team. This team was the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, two things worked at the same time. While she was also from Kansas City and his team was doing really well. Oh crap. I'm all over the place. We're not. I was thinking about cutting that out, but we're not gonna cut it out. So while she's from Kansas City, the team she was painting also started doing really well at the same time. So the cool part about that is that the team was getting a lot of recognition and attention. At the same time, she was getting a lot of recognition and attention from the artwork she was doing based off the team around her story. So two things kind of came together at the same time once again. So people really started loving her work and connecting with her work, especially with the attention that the team was getting. This led to this particular artist building her own little tribe of buyers, collectors. And because of that, the tribe became so fascinated with her because of that story that they actually became close friends, and a lot of these people that was purchasing her work started like sharing her work with others and talking about others to the point where she even got featured on the news in her city. And she even got featured by the sports team, which is the football team, also in her city. And this led to a lot of people once again coming back to her, loving her work. By the way, I'm gonna take a quick pause. What's the key point at this point? The key point is the power of a story that actually connect with people, like sharing those tough stories, right? Now, this is not Caitlin's exact story. Keep in mind, we're talking about in 2019. But overall, Caitlin's story was that she wasn't spending enough time with her husband. And because she wasn't spending enough time with her husband, bonding during the sport would be the best way. She actually created the first piece, not to sell, but she created it for her husband. And because she was able to be vulnerable and share that story, a lot of women started connecting with that. And that's how this all came about. So now, moving forward, now that she's growing this audience, right? And these people really resonating with her work and connecting with her. It's to the point where she was going in grocery stores and people was recognizing her. And it wasn't a huge following. Like this tribe of buyers, I think today, like it's maybe on her biggest following on the platform is maybe like 9,000 people. So for everybody, I think you have to go viral to crush it. You don't have to go viral. You need 1,000 true fans. And that's what she have. She have 1,000 true fans. So with that being said, getting back on track. With that being said, she continued to grow from this point. But while she was growing and getting this recognition, she realized there was only so many drawings she could do in a typical month. And the max maybe was like 5 or 6. So what we decided to do was do a print release. When we did this particular print release, we did a limited print release. I want to say the first print release was maybe 50. Keep on, we're talking years ago. But let's just say the first print release was 50 prints. 50 prints at maybe, I really can't remember this part. But let's just say the first print release was like 50 prints at $100 each. And if she sold out, she made 5,000, which is probably what it was. And that was actually a success. But it took like 3 days to sell out. Now, over those 3 day times period that it took to sell out, she was really happy. Like, wow, I sold out these prints. It's pretty cool. She kept on building, though. She didn't lose momentum. She kept on building, talking about the sports team. But here's where things really changed. She wasn't only creating artwork about the sports team at this point. She became like the spokesperson for the sports team. So she took it a step further. What she did with her art career is then she didn't make it all revolve around her art. She made it revolve around the team. So start talking about the team and what's going on and like congratulating the team and hoping the team wins certain games. Like she actually became really, really deep into this team. And because she became so deep into the team, it started to bring more people to her attention. Bringing her attention to more people. Either way, a lot of people started recognizing the work Caitlin was creating. And they was also becoming fans of Caitlin because Caitlin was actually a true fan of the sport. Now, with that being said, because of her audience began to grow and people was also really connected with Caitlin, she decided to do another print release. This print release we ended up doing, I think it was like 100 prints for $100 each. And she did like 10,000, which was fantastic. And then after that 10,000 print release, she was like, holy crap, I'm on top of the world. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about an artist whose original goal was 1,000. And now we doing print releases, which in 3 days selling out, and she's making 10 grand, which is absolutely insane. Not to mention, she's still selling 3 to 5 originals a month at maybe 2 grand, 3 grand each. So things are going really, really well, right? But it's, once again, this all comes from what I mentioned at the very beginning, which means you have to, in order to believe it, you have to see it, right? You have to see it to believe it. A lot of people know that. But to achieve it, you have to like taste it a little bit. You have to taste it a little bit to achieve it. That's very true. And because she started to taste a little bit, she started to see what that success was like. She was able to believe it more. And as she started to believe it more, she was able to build more confidence. And then once she was able to build more confidence, she was able to act with confidence. And in order to really have success, you have to take action with confidence. That's what happened in this particular artist's case. So now moving forward, at this point, she have a pretty decent following, which is anywhere from 5,000 to 9,000 people. I think of today, can have to have an artist T, have to have max 9,000 followers on her biggest platform, which is probably Twitter, which is cool. But the relationship she have with those followers is absolutely insane, like absolutely insane. So what happened recently is she decided to do a limited time print release. So it wasn't a number on how many prints you could buy. You was only able to buy prints for a certain amount of time, which made it like almost no cap. It was a 3-day weekend. So it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. People was able to buy these prints. And then this weekend, she ended up selling 298 prints. 298 prints from an audience of only 9,000 people, which is absolutely insane. Why am I saying this? So I want to share Caitlin's story, mainly because I want you to understand that so many artists are chasing virality, and they're telling you, and you're listening to people telling you that you need to post every single day. That's not the case. If you really, really, really want to build a strong career, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And that's what she hyper focused on. She hyper focused on the quality with her work, really building genuine relationships with people. Every person that was buying her work, she was sending handwritten letters, she was giving in gifts. The same thing I talk about on this channel. Like, she did those exact same things, and overall, she stayed consistent while doing those things. And because she decided to stay consistent, what happens is a compound effect. It's like a snowball effect. As long as that snowball keep rolling down a hill, it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what happened. And if you give for so long and you genuinely build relationships with so many people for so much time, it's going to become a very, very, very big snowball. And that's what happened for Caitlyn. And now today, Caitlyn probably feel like she's on top of the world because of that. Now that we're at the end of this movie, I'm gonna actually put a link to Caitlyn's initial interview, maybe here or below, and definitely check it out. That interview is how Caitlyn from 3 years ago talk about going from basically 0 sales to 5,000 a month, and now Caitlyn recently had a 32,000 3-day weekend. Hopefully you found this video valuable. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. We probably should be working together, but if we're not working together, at least start out by subscribing to the channel so you can at least learn this free information to take your career to the next level. I'm going to see you on the next video. Peace.